So, Under the Table Brewing, Nate and Brad, how the heck are you guys?
Good, Tony. How you doing, man?
Doing real well.
Doing really good. So, what is it you guys do? I mean, you guys got to be like the most liked couple of Homebrew Wednesdayers that I know. I know that I look forward to watching your guys' Homebrew Wednesday every single week. It's always informative, entertaining, friendly, downright neighborly. I mean, you guys are like the guys who live next door, or that I want to live next door, so that I can always come over and just hang out. So, can you guys tell me a little bit more about yourselves and your lives and what it's like, off the Homebrew Wednesday camera? Can we start off with younger Nate, and then we'll work our way over?
Yeah.
Tell to P.
We're just a couple of dudes. We're normal people, We're just a couple of Midwesterners, and it's just we are what you see. We don't try to do anything, that's fake. We don't put on fronts. We're just open, honest people, and love sharing this fun hobby and the fruits of our labor. And I love the Homebrew Wednesday concept because it is, just put it out there. What are you doing? What's going on in your brewery this week? What are you brewing? How are you doing it? What are you building? That kind of stuff. And it's fun for me because it acts as kind of a time capsule, if you will, to look back on. So I'm kind of looking at this as like, in 5 years I can look back and say, wow, that's where I started. That was the beginning. Because I started the Homebrew Wednesday probably 2 months or 3 months after we really started brewing. So, together as a team, and when I started brewing, it was, just having some trouble, went online, and yeah.
I remember watching it back then when you were getting started, and it was like, wow. So you really were just, going off with the kits and then coming into all grain shortly thereafter, and then the whole, not the brewery build, the brew system build. That was quite a nice little series.
Yeah, there's more coming, by the way, on that.
Great. We'll talk about that, hopefully.
Yeah, for sure.
Soon. So, in terms of the homebrew community, you get around a lot. So it seems like you're definitely met the most other Homebrew Wednesdayers, and you're always on the road traveling. What is it you do for work?
What I do for work is I work for a small company that's probably approaching 20 employees, and what we are is a petroleum test equipment distributor. We distribute equipment to test fuels and lubricants and materials. Okay. The main field that my specialty field, I guess you will, is called tribology. And tribology is the study of friction and wear. It covers basically all facets of life and, anything that you deal with on a daily basis, from, the oil in your car to the CD tray on your computer drive, that rolls out. It has grease on it, and any moving parts, anything that slides. Our equipment tests everything under the sun, from shoes to parts on satellites and the space shuttle, and any moving part in an engine. This is coatings and greases and oils and that sort of thing. But we also deal a lot with gasoline and fuels, jet fuel, jet turbine oil. Yeah, so it's a big, huge field, or huge customer base. And what I do, I'll try to make this short because I'm a rambler. What I do is I do field service, and I also do in-house service, and I'm also a computer programmer. So I program the user interface for the equipment. So I create UIs for touchscreen applications and computer-based applications to control the test equipment. Now that's on the manufacturing side. We're also a manufacturing group, aside from just being a distributor. So it's pretty widespread, and we cover a ton of markets. But being in the field service, that puts me out in the traveling, and I take advantage of that a little bit. Never compromising my tasks and my duties, but I, when I'm in New York, I'll stop and see Barry, or if I'm in Virginia, I'll go see Lermo, or, it's worked out. Couple areas I haven't gotten to yet, like Oregon. I'd like to go see the Clements, but I don't get.
There was San Diego, and that was pretty epic.
San Diego was epic, and that was a family vacation. That was awesome. But I also saw a customer on that trip, so I cover my bases, and it's allowed me to surpass Kevin in his Homebrew Wednesday ambassadorship. I've got more under my belt now than he does by about 5 or 6, I think, just in the last few meetups. But it's fun. It's really awesome to meet fellow brew tubers, and I can tell you I have not met anyone who's been a downer or a bad person. It's just everybody is just great in this community. So. It's awesome.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
How about you, Elder P, a.k.a. Brad?
Yeah. Well,
what do you do for a living, or what did you do?
Well, I'm in sales. I work for a company that supplies electrical supplies, distributor of commercial and industrial, gear and controls. Selling for, the contractor or the industrial operation, and I've been doing that for 15, 18 years now. Came in through the back door, sort of. I had worked towards an art degree back in the day when I was in college. I have a master's degree in ceramics, and with the hope of teaching. And when I hit the market trying to find that teaching job at a college or a community college, there was a glut. There were so many people coming out of the art schools, and there were very few jobs. So ended up going around doing art fairs, selling my pottery, and doing that for a while until I realized, it doesn't pay the bills, and so ended up doing a lot of different part-time jobs to try and keep that going, and ended up with this, and I've been doing it now for a while. It's nice because it connects us with source of all kinds of different things that we can utilize in our brew setup.
Hop trellis.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's pretty wicked. That's that's very nice. I got the hops in the backyard, you might have saw, and they're now at 4 meters high, so about 4 yards high, and I need more space.
Mm-hmm.
I need to go higher.
Yeah.
So you guys probably have that as well. So your trellis is just fantastic.
It's working out pretty well.
Great.
Yeah.
But speaking of the ceramics, so education in ceramics, how long before you got a ceramic fermenter created?
Yeah, really.
Just need an oven big enough.
During those early
Go
years.
back to the old days, building clay pots, right?
Right. When we were, when I was in school still, and Nathan and Colin were small, I started doing a little bit of homebrew. Got a couple of kits, Cooper's kits, and just made some beer and
with food stamps.
Yeah, we were connecting with one of the health food stores selling brew kits, and so that's where it all started. And then after a period of time, after a couple of successful batches and then a couple of not so successful batches of beer, ended up putting it aside. And then years later, here Nathan, as an adult, comes to me and says, "Hey, I want to brew some beer," And so we looked through the old stuff in the attic, and I found my fermenter and found a bunch of different...
Rack and cane.
Yeah, rack and cane and a bunch of different things, and we thought, well, let's give it a whirl, We got started, and so
And speaking of, let's
back
crack into
into
a homebrew. Is that cool, Tony?
Yeah, go ahead.
We're gonna crack into a homebrew that we made, that we fermented in that old fermenter, actually. So this is
Okay.
the
So where is
clear.
this? About a year and a half old?
This is a more recent batch. I think we made it in when did we go on the trout trip? In May, right?
Yeah, this was from
End of April. So we brewed
Yeah.
this one at end of April, and this is the Clear Isabella, and we just sent a couple of these out. One to Kevin. There you go, Dad.
yeah.
One to Kevin Clements, and one to DJ for DJ's Brew Tube. So we're going to go ahead and pour those out. And we called it Clear Isabella. The idea was to make a very, very clear beer, and I just poured the dregs into mine. But take a look at
You can
Elder
see.
P's pour there. Hold it up to that
Yeah, it's
camera.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
So you can, yeah, it's very clear. So it's very, very, very light malts.
the name came about before the beer did. Actually,
Yeah, we thought
we were
that's a
playing
great-
around with just ideas for a beer, and it popped into the head.
Yeah.
So
Speaking about beer names, where did Dropkick Nate come from? Because
Oh.
somebody suggested that maybe it came from you, Elder P.
no, actually, it was from my daughter-in-law.
Yeah, my wife. There have been plenty of days that my wife has felt that way. You know,
Okay.
my brewing obsession and my my travel and all of that. I know, and my workload is led her to that. Now, she actually coined that. If you remember, our first all grain batch, she actually did it with my guidance, and we brewed that beer. And I think it was that day she said, "I'm going to call this Dropkick Nate." Now it was a clone, or supposed to be a clone, of a beer called Sidekick, and so she just
Right.
took a spin off that and probably wanted to drop kick me too. But she's already got ideas for a label, which is of my head like a football, and kick, somebody kicking it, drop kicking it. So we'll see if that comes to fruition. But in the meantime, we're gonna drink this.
Yeah.
Cheers.
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 Cheers, Tom.
Cheers to you. And you've got your homebrew coffee.
That's right.
Now this is a very, very light pale ale, about 4.5%. It's got just a half ounce of Columbus for bittering, and then our entire harvest from last year's Centennials, which was 4 ounces. So,
Okay. Okay.
so 4
Nice.
ounces, and it is nice. It's a nice beer, and it's got honey malt and some Munich and Carapils and two-row, and so it's very, very straightforward, extremely clean, and it's a great beer. So we're really proud of it.
I got a question for you about
Yeah.
the homegrown hops with the Centennial. Do you know they're Centennial? I mean, are they same as the like Yakima Valley hop Centennials? I mean, you get that totally out of it.
Well, I don't know if they're the same strain, the same strain, I guess you call it, as the Yakima Valley, but they're definitely the American Centennial hops. That's what they are. I know. Well, we went on good faith, based on our supplier, which was More Beer, and we ordered them. They were on a sale, I think $4 or $5 a rhizome, and we got 6 rhizomes. We got 6 varieties, and Cascade Centennial, Northern Brewer, Nugget, Tettnanger, and Willamette. And I know, based on brewing with them, I mean, that's really when you know. These are absolutely Centennial. And the Nuggets
I know
are
that's a big
absolutely
question that
yeah.
a lot of us that grow hops. So sort of that's the question is because you always hear that if you grow hops, Centennial hops, if they're grown on the West Coast, they'll get that sort of West Coast sort of flavor depending on the ground, the altitude, whatever.
Yeah, Tierra,
The
yeah.
sun is shining, similar to grapes. And then if it's somewhere else, like on the East Coast, then you get a slightly different flavor or aroma from it. So I was just wondering if you experienced any of that.
I mean, when we harvested them last year, I mean, when you pinched the Cascade, it smelled like the Cascade hops you get from Hop Union or Yakima or any of those. The Centennial was the same way. The Nuggets, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. We didn't get much else for the other hops last year. This year, it's looking really good. So it looks like
we're in River Valley along the Fox River in northern Illinois, and the ground there is really fertile, rich,
extremely rich,
just beautiful soil. We've got the hop yard is at my place, which is about 2 miles from here.
Mm-hmm.
My wife and I have 8.5 acres of land that has been in the family since the early or mid 20s.
Almost 100 years.
Yeah, my great grandfather bought the property. My parents or my grandparents moved in there in 1928. My father was like 6 years old. Grew up in the house. I grew up, and there was always a garden. It was a matter of when that was the Depression.
Yeah.
They were going through the early time there. During that Depression, the primary income was from the truck farm that they had. They had this property, and they grew all kinds of vegetables and sold vegetables, and that was a part of their income. And then when I was growing up, I was taught how to work in the garden, and you do all these different things to tend to. You're sort of a steward of the land, so it comes by us sort of naturally to just sort of tend to this crop that we've grown now. It's nice being able to.
Do you guys have any livestock, like chickens or anything like that?
Have a few chickens now.
Well, they just passed
an
ordinance.
Started that.
It was you couldn't have in the village limits. You couldn't have livestock or chickens, so that was just changed this year, and they jumped on it.
Yeah, so we've got 6 chickens, 6 hens. Well, Lynn thinks one's a rooster. So.
I think one's a rooster too.
Yeah. So anyway, we've got that, and it's nice having this
From
history.
The footage. Yeah, from the footage that you've shown on the Homebrew Wednesdays, the plot of land looks fantastic.
Yeah. There's a stream running through the back of the property, wooded area. There's some old walnut trees there that are just huge. The field, there's about 2.5 acres of tillable ground that we cash rent to one of the local farmers, and he grows corn or beans on that, or hay. This year it's in beans. We have a big garden.
Sounds like a dream.
Yeah, it's really nice, and it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
It's labor intensive, but it's also love. There's a lot of love involved there. So
I remember talking to my wife whenever we were going to buy a house. There would have to be a river nearby.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about that movie. A river runs through it.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you guys have that right in your backyard.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty nice.
It's good and bad.
Yeah. When we've had the experience of having a flood that I had just finished remodeling the house back in the mid-90s. We were doing it just prior to one of the graduations, I think Colin's graduation from high school.
Colin's my brother.
Yeah, and we had 2 foot of water in our living room as a result of that flood, and it was a real setback. So we recovered from that, and going along, every time we get some heavy rain, we worry about it. Somebody made a comment about us living in the Bible.
In the Bible. Man, bear pig.
Yeah, because of the conditions sometimes it just seemed...
Last year the weather was insane, though.
Yeah.
It was just the storms last year were out of control. This year it's a little more tame.
Yeah. Getting back to the early days when my grandparents were there, and my grandfather and my great-uncle, it was during the Depression. It was also during Prohibition. And they started a speakeasy in the house. So this drinking thing comes by us naturally, I think. There's the story is that my grandmother and my great aunt and the ladies would all gather in the living room, where the men would go into the other room, and they would drink their alcoholic beverages that they would make. So yeah, it's just a real interesting sort of twist on where this all comes from.
Yeah, the homebrewing roots run pretty deep.
Yeah. So,
and my love for beer, my love for beer started early. I guess I don't remember all of it, but okay. I understand. I understand that when I was young, I would go around at the family gatherings and parties, 2, 3 years old, and ask for sips of people's beers. And in the late '70s, they thought it was really cute, and nobody knew how many sips I actually had. And one time, my mom found me passed out upstairs in a bedroom, and when she woke me up, I yacked all over because I had so much to drink.
Oh my god!
We ended up putting a sign around his neck.
They used to hang a sign around my neck that said, "Do not feed me beer." Yeah. So, yeah. So it's pretty hilarious.
Good old days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it was yesterday.
A little more liberal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That did not happen with my kids.
Yeah.
When was it that you actually started homebrewing? When you did those kits? I didn't get a year.
That was probably in the early 80s, I think, wasn't it?
I was 5.
Yeah.
So it would have been...
About 1979, 1980.
81.
81. And...
okay.
Yeah,
was it strictly kit and kilo
back
then?
Yeah. Basically, that's just all it was. And I didn't know nearly as much then about sanitation, and I think that that's what sort of turned me off when I had a couple of bad batches. It was a lot of work, and then to get a bad batch of beer, it was just not all that great. But so I sort of put it aside. But this guy.
So you're pretty happy now that Nate's got it back?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Everybody's up to speed and more educated about sanitization, fermentation,
oh yeah, for sure,
and all that other stuff.
I remember watching
You remember watching what?
I remember watching the airlock when I was 5, 6 years old, and just fascinated by that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think I ever pulled it off and like dropped crayons into the fermenter or anything like that. I think I left it alone. I've heard horror stories about that, but no, I never did that.
So, what's the new equipment coming up in the brewery? I mean, what's the plan for the brewery? What are you guys doing next? I'm
kind of spearheading that. I have a three vessel setup. It's designed anyway, and we've been accumulating the components. I'm able to get some, I guess we'll say, just reclaimed components from work. We deal a lot with temperature controllers, so I've got some 240 volt, PID controllers that work off thermocouples and
some power supplies.
And I've got some power supplies and solid state relays and things that were perfectly functioning units. They have a little bit of age on them, but there's nothing wrong with them. Got some new heating elements. It's going to be an all electric Herm system. Single pump right now. Like I have a chugger pump, basically like a March pump, and then I'm going to get a secondary pump to just move the hot liquor, the water. One of those solar 24 volt pumps or 12 volt pumps. I think they're 12 volt. Just to move, recirculate the hot water in the liquor tank, and then push it over to the mash tun. And it's going to be 3. We're going to use kegels because we already have 2. We have a third one, but I think we're going to try to get a more modern keg. The one we have is the old barrel shape style, and it's pretty beat up. So we were thinking about trying to make it work, but after looking at it more and kind of wanting to have a little bit of a cleaner system, I think we're going to go with more of a standard modern Sankey keg like the other 2 that we have. One is the rubber coated insulated one. We're going to use that for the hot liquor tank. That'll help retain some of the heat, and then that'll have the Herms coil in it. And in addition to that, it's going to be stainless plumbing with cam lock and silicone tubing. We also have a friend who is a stainless steel welder, has a system set up at home, and he has been doing sanitary welding for about 30 years. Worked in food industry.
Nice.
Has worked in oil field.
One of my fishing buddies.
And he's a fishing buddy too. So, and he's a great guy.
That's a nice friend to have.
Yeah. So, and it's basically one of those gratis type jobs where you come on out, hang out for a Saturday afternoon. We'll weld up the kegels and we'll get all our fittings. So we're going to have all sanitary welds for all of our threaded connections in our kegels.
So I'm kind of curious, why not use the insulated kegel already for the mash tun, if it will retain the heat best?
Well, we have plans to do an insulated mash tun, and it's going to be, we may expand this concept. But what I want to do is I want to do the wooden clad, kind of like a barrel. So put staves around the mash tun and then insulate it on the inside of the wood staves, and then have the fittings through the wood. I think it's gonna. I've seen it on a couple of different setups, but not too many. So that's something that I really want to get done, and the mash tun's also going to be tippy dump, so we can. It's going to be on an A-frame with kind of like on a hinge, and we'll be able to dump the tip it so we can get the grains out easily. But
oh, that'd be nice.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty slick. It's going to be. I was kind of wanting to push it and get it done quickly, but thinking about it more, I want to take.
We want to do it right.
Take our
we don't
time.
want to, rush into it. Take it a step at a time and do it, so we don't have to go back.
Yeah.
The ones that I've seen with the wood around it, I mean, they are quite nice, sort of antique-ish. But you got the guys who just go all out and stain it and just got it looking nice and bright and shiny and like a piece of furniture. It's just gorgeous.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm thinking like teak is what I want to do. I think I just love that, or cedar, but probably teak. To withstand the water and when we get stuff splashed on it, it's not going to swell and get nasty. But the other thing about the mash tun is going to be bottom drain instead of like a dip tube. So probably make our own manifold. Similar to what we have now, but make it out of either copper or stainless, but probably copper. We'll see. That's
quite nice.
Yeah. It's all in the design phase right now.
Bottom, definitely increase your brewhouse efficiency.
Yeah,
have something like that.
And it's going to be on.
I saw some videos. Bobby from New Jersey, and he was putting in the silver fittings, and he did something very similar where he put them into the bottom, so it was stainless steel using the silver solder, and then that was quite nice.
Ours will be TIG, so
it's nice to have that sort of that friend.
I mean, I can only imagine what it's going to look like. I mean, I know this guy's work, and he's top notch. So that's going to be nice. And then I can only imagine that the bottom drain with the Herms is just gonna rock.
So speaking about fishing buddies. Do you guys go up to the same place every year? Like somebody's got a cabin up in the woods, or do you choose different places?
A good friend of mine started a tradition years ago with his father and his grandfather going up to central Wisconsin to the trout streams there. It's a sand country. It's a really beautiful area, clear spring-fed streams throughout the central Wisconsin. And he invited friends along as we got older. As he got older, his father and grandfather. His grandfather was gone, and his father had dropped away from it. But he still had this interest in going up there and fishing, and he invited friends up. And I became a part of that group back in the '89 or '90s, late '80s, early '90s, and started going up there. And every spring we'd go up for a few days, and then it extended out to a long weekend. We do 4 days or whatever, and then finally now, over the last 10 or 12 years, we've just decided that we'll set aside a full week and go up to that area and fish. And there's a group of 6 or 8 guys that have been the core group, and we've had anywhere from just 4 of us, 3 of us go up, to as many as 10 guys, 12 guys show up. We've gone from tent camping to renting these campers at the campgrounds, a trailer, to finally found a cabin on a lake, and we'd use that as our base camp, and then we'd go out on day trips for fishing the streams. And we've been there, gosh, a long time. It's been
nice.
a tradition.
Like a great time.
Yeah. And we're fishing these waters that we've been to, so there are changes every year. Subtle changes in the streams, and the environment changes subtly, but there's a familiarity to it, and there's this bonding that we've always done.
Yeah.
It's been a matter of reconnecting with all these people that you don't see through the rest of the year. Your friends, and it's just like we pick up where we left off.
Yeah, it's a wonderful
I mean,
thing.
we spend a week together. We drink, we hang out, just catch up on everybody's families, and it's a great time. And you need that downtime, that R&R to rejuvenate.
Decompression.
Yeah.
Now, I don't make it every year. I've actually only made it about 3 times since I started going in, 2007.
Yeah.
So,
Good.
but for all the years that I missed, I made up for it this year.
Yeah.
I caught my limit, and it was kick ass.
We had a good time.
Yeah.
And this past year, we were able to take up 2 kegs of beer.
Yeah, homebrew. Yeah.
We took a keg of this Clear Isabella, and we also had a...
Now, I
This is
remember
the last
watching
one.
that video.
Yeah. It was amazing.
And you brought back some water.
Yes.
Have you used that water yet? In a
Not
brew?
yet. We've
Nope.
been so busy with the hub work and with everything going on, garden and the hops and
Spring is a busy time.
spring. And I've been building a chicken coop, so
yeah.
it's been involved. But the water's still there, and we're going to brew a batch of artesian spring water.
Nice.
Yeah, that'll
Yeah.
be good.
Nice.
My goal, like right now, back to the Brewhouse, and you touched on it. The fermentation chamber is the next step. Right now, it's about 50%, maybe just over that complete. And at this time of year, we really need that control for temperature for fermentation.
Yeah,
So
the fluctuations
before we
in hot and
brew,
cold
it's
days,
kind of
whatever.
a priority, and so the challenge is pretty hard and heavy and intensive right now. So once there's a lapse there, then I plan to jump on the fermentation chamber and complete that, and then that's going to allow us to do lagers and also to do ale control. What I'd like to do with that artesian spring water is do a nice lager. We've been talking about it for a year, about doing an old style clone. We have a good close family friend that's his favorite beer. It's his go-to beer, and I've always been threatening that we're going to do an old style clone.
Heileman's
recipe.
Old Style.
Yeah.
It's one of the old tried and true.
Yeah, old man Heilemann came over from Germany, and started a brewery like the guys at Ned Miller and
Yeah.
Pabst and Schlitz and all those hams and all those, and it was
So
one
is
of
it
them.
true Bohemian Pilsner style?
Yeah,
Yeah, I would say.
I would say so. Supposedly, the original recipe has juniper berries in it, and it's not a bad beer. It's like it's the beer of Wrigley Field, So if you go to a Cubs game, Old Style is one of the top sellers there. They sell Bud and stuff too, but that's like the Chicago classic, lager.
Okay.
It's still crap. It's still crappy yellow fizz, man. But to be honest,
is that what you're going to make with this water?
well, that's
No.
the thing. Well, I'm thinking about it because they're one of their things was brewed with pure artesian spring water, and
Yeah.
it really is. That's what we got. We're either going to do that, or we're going to do a pale ale or something really light to try to let the the water shine on it. So maybe do another batch of Clear Isabella.
Have you guys ever made the same batch twice?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, Dropkick Nate, we've made it 4 times.
yeah.
And the fourth time I actually made a double batch. I made 2 5-gallon batches in one day, and then fermented it all together. So we have we have some large fermenting vessels now,
Huge.
and
That's
those
nice.
they'll actually hold 13 gallons, so you can ferment 10 gallons.
So now we
plus
need to get the brew stand
up
sizable,
up to snuff. So we
can
want
make
to
it.
be able to brew 10 gallons at a shot.
Yeah,
And
It's a nice.
we've done.
yeah, I know.
We've done one beer we did as a partial grain. It was an extract kit partial grain, and then we went to a full all grain on it, and that was the Wilco Tango Foxtrot, which is a clone from
Lagunitas.
Lagunitas. For the that is an exceptional beer. It's really good. And it's one of their seasonals.
You guys sent some of that to Brad too, didn't you?
Yeah.
Brad.
Well, I don't know. If,
No, we didn't send him that one. We sent him. The recipe that I got from him. We were talking about. I wanted to do.
it was a chocolate.
I wanted to do a big stout, chocolate stout, on it, like an imperial, level imperial, and so he and I were chatting. Jeez,
Took his.
August of last year or something, July
Yeah.
of last year, and I said, "Do you have a good recipe?" And he said, "Yeah." He says, "Go on my brew toad." So I did, and so I got his. He did it as a Belgian style imperial chocolate stout and triple chocolate, and so I liked the way it looked. And then I took that, modified it a little bit, and then we brewed it in honor of my grandfather, passed away in January. And I
We
sent
sent him a
him
bottle of
one of
that,
those.
yeah.
And it was kind of in the works that when that beer got brewed, that I would send him one of those, and he would send me one of his. So we still have a few bottles of that stashed away. And
Nice.
I know there's a beer mail in the works. I don't know when it's coming, but
A friend out in Utah has got a
look at this beer.
coffee.
This beer is just absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
That's crystal. Yeah.
This is a gorgeous beer. This is, I think if there was a style, it would probably be Imperial Brown. But look at that. I mean, this beer, this is the Wilco Tango Foxtrot, all grain.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this,
So what yeast did you use on that? You said you got the recipe from Brad, and that it was
No,
basically
this is a different,
Belgian chocolate stuff.
This-
No, that was the other beer.
that was a different,
Yeah.
this is the one my dad was talking
This
about.
is the one from Lagunitas.
Yeah, we did this as
clone
an
off that.
extract originally, and then
Yeah.
I got this for my dad's birthday. Got it for him. My wife and I bought it for him. And if there was a style, it'd probably be an Imperial Brown Ale. But the IBUs on this are probably like 70 to 80.
Yeah, we twisted this a little bit. We kicked it up a little bit in the hops, and it's really
Just
exceptional.
like a hoppy brown, then.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's got some other characters in it. And this is cool. This beer is cool because this was my dad's first all grain beer that he made by himself.
Yeah.
He's only done 2 now.
Yeah.
This one and the SJ Port
We brew
Challenge.
together for the most part.
Yeah, we normally.
Occasionally, Nathan will just do a brew on his own. And when we did the challenge beers this year, it was all on our own.
Yep.
You know, he did his, I did mine. No assistance. You know, we just
Aside from the recipe.
yeah. So we worked from there, and it was. But this turned out very well.
But the yeast that I used, I didn't use the Belgian yeast. Back to the question about the chocolate. I ended up using. I was intrigued by everything I was reading about the WLP 007, which is the dry English ale yeast. I think you've used it a
Right.
few times. So I really
used it a couple times.
yeah, and they say that that's probably the most similar yeast commercially available to the stone yeast, their house yeast, which is I think it's pretty close, probably a spin on it, but so I really wanted to try that yeast, and I know it works well in many styles, and I love the English yeast in stouts, so that's what I used in it instead of the Belgian, because as much as I love Belgians, I don't like the Belgian characteristic in certain beers. And that's one of them.
Right.
I don't know. I have had some damn fine Belgian stouts, but the best one was one I picked up when I was in Belgium earlier.
Of course.
On one of those
I
trips.
think everybody in the community
Yeah.
knows.
It was an oyster stout, and that beer was off the hook good. It was a total win. I was buying all the pails and triples and hoppy triples, and I bought a quad. But that I was intrigued by the label and the fact that it was a stout and an oyster stout at that in Belgium, and it was probably my favorite. That and the quad that I got were the two. Yeah, I couldn't tell you the name of the quad. But
I've been on the benefit side of his travels because he comes home and his suitcase is packed full of beers, inside socks, packed away.
bubble wrapped. Yeah.
Oh
yeah, and I came back from visiting with Larry, and of course Larry stocked me up. I brought a bunch of beers for him too, but
he travels out with beers,
Yeah.
comes back with, does the exchange,
And
and that's been nice.
And when I met with Barry, I was walking out. He goes, "Oh, you're not leaving yet. Here's a bunch of beers." And oh my gosh, I think I had 6 or 7 beers that I left Barry's house with.
Wow.
He's got some good beer.
Yeah,
He's
Barry
got
can
some-
brew, man.
Yeah.
Barry can brew, and I still have 4 beers.
There's 3 or 4 beers there that he
of his that we haven't gotten into yet. But everything we've had, that Belgian that he made, oh man. Whew.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to some questions, dude. We can sit here
It
and
sounds
talk.
really great
Yeah.
about all the beers that you've got. Brag, brag, brag.
I'm not. I don't mean to gloat. But it is an awesome thing, and I absolutely.
There's a downside of travel, though.
Yeah,
It's
I cherish the friendships that I've formed, and the chance and the opportunity to meet all these people. Just awesome, man.
This community thing has just been amazing with YouTube. Following the chat that's going on in the hubbery with Paul's coming for the conference, and it's just amazing. Larry's figuring out a way of getting over there. All these people are going to meet up. You know? It's going to be great.
You guys and 6,000 other people.
Yeah, as long as we can get tickets now. Tickets last year sold out in like 15 minutes or something. So,
You'll be outside scalping, talking to the scalpers.
Yeah, just like a
actually-
Grateful Dead show.
yeah. I need an extra.
When it comes to the hubbery and the hubs and all of that sort of work, I mean, that's been quite a big deal. Just to be able to collect all those brews, and then you've been on the road distributing them and things like that. So,
It worked out really well this
what's
year.
that experience been like?
Fantastic. I mean, the behind-the-scenes stuff has been extraordinary. A bunch of just awesome people to work with. Kevin and Steven and Lermo, and the guys
Sammy.
across
It's
there, Sammy and I mean everybody. Paul and Gash.
This thing got bigger than we thought it would. It's just just exploded.
It did, yeah.
Going from 2 hubs to having 3, then to 4 in the States.
Yeah, it just happened like that.
So
And
how
now-
are you guys doing the judging on this? I mean, you're doing the hub specific judging, but what happens to sort of the top winners from the U.S.?
Well,
Who will actually
The top three.
Who's going to be determined? Yeah, the top three for the U.S. How's that?
Well, there's a semifinals, right? So we're in the semifinal stage right now. We're judging semifinals. So each of the 4 hubs are going to determine their top 3, and then after those top 3 are determined, the top 3 brewers from each region have to ship their beers to the other regions. So there's going to be 9 beers going out to the top 3, 1 to each of the other 9 top 3 brewers in the other regions. And then they're going to judge, that group of 12 will judge those 9 beers, and from those 12 beers, I'm sorry.
12 beers, yeah.
Those 12 beers, there will be a top 3. Those top 3 then
Will
go
into
international.
the international level.
So as far as I know right now, that's the plan.
But it's
So you're really like in the quarterfinals now. Quarterfinals.
Yeah,
sort of.
yeah.
Come up
Yeah.
in that round.
Semifinals
International will be in the final round.
yes,
in another
semifinals
year,
are
it'll be like the Sweet 16 and the basketball scene.
We're gonna have to break it down.
break it down further and further. I don't know. Depends on how big this gets.
Let's hope.
But we'll see.
I know that for the I've been trying to go after sponsors, and once I had a chance to actually talk with them and explain to them, the whole breakdown of it, these guys are blown away by the fact that a bunch of beer chugging homebrewers can come up with such an elaborate scheme and to make it international, to make it at the global level.
Yeah, the size
with limited funding.
It's unbelievable, the growth just from one year to the next.
Yeah.
This past year's growth has been enormous.
Over 600%.
It's hard to fathom. It's a lot of shipping and a lot of logistics involved. This whole rating and voting system and trying to log all of the reviews. There have been some great videos made about how to keep it all together. It's
yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty surprised about how smooth things have been moving along, and there's been a lot of great ideas from Paul and Kevin. Of course, SJ sort of had the route shipping coordination all worked out ahead of time and shared that with us. The UK has gotten just exploded. It's huge.
Unbelievable.
A lot of people. And then so they've got this sort of special breakdown of how they're going to do it. And the same with New Zealand. They've got another special way that they're going to break it down, which is similar but still different. And it's kind of interesting to see the dynamic ideas that come across in order to facilitate the same thing. So
for some reason,
really cool.
it seems to all be falling into place, though, and it seems to be working. So far, it's going to be interesting.
So speaking about the SJ Pour Challenge,
yes.
What are the beers that you guys have made? Nate, what did you make?
I made an Imperial Black IPA. It's almost 8.5%, 8.4. It was a recipe I had done one time before. I was playing around with new recipes and ideas. Been wanting to do a black IPA for a long time, and I just said, "The heck with it. We're gonna do it." It was on a huge brew day. We did a triple brew day, the two of us, all grain. And
we ended up pitching yeast at like 4 a.m.
Pitched the yeast into my trial beer of my challenge entry at 4 a.m.
It's a very involved brew.
It is a
schedule.
long
There's a
brew.
90-minute boil.
90-minute mash.
90-minute
mash. 90-minute boil.
And then you got a whirlpool.
30-minute whirlpool.
Yeah.
So just in the boil kettle alone, it's sitting in there for 2 hours before I start chilling.
And Brad, what did you make?
My beer, I made a stout, an American stout, and it's solid. It's very simple, straightforward, but it's awesome. And it's a recipe that Nathan came up with. It's
7.2,
7.3, something like that.
Yeah, 7.
It's just really smooth and tasty, and I'm just really proud of it. And Nate came up with the recipe for it. So I took his recipe. We brewed it myself.
We brewed it together the first time.
Right.
We collaborated. And it wasn't all my. We discuss it. Like every time we come up with a new recipe, I think we kind of sit down and we talk about things. And he trusts my judgment, so I'll tell him what certain grains are going to do to the beer and what kind of percentages, ratios we should use. And then he'll throw feedback on it and say, well, let's throw some oats in it, for mouthfeel, or, oh, that's a great idea. What else do we have in the barrel? Oh, we got some of this or some of that. So we collaborate, and then the hops are always a kind of a subject that we kind of collaborate on. And so we came up with that recipe. Both of the SJ Pour entries, the recipes for them we came up with on the fly. We basically went to what we had available for specialty grains and kind of went from there. And we knew what style we wanted to make. We knew what we wanted to make. Kind of targeted alcohol levels, bitterness.
Looked in the freezer to see what hops were there.
What do we have?
What yeast are we going to use? And So
it's funny is that we generally, like, on those two brews specifically, we built up big yeast starters, and then the brew days, the original brew days when we developed the recipes, we knew what yeast we had. So it's like, okay, well, what are we going to do? Well, that yeast would work well with a stout, or that, I knew I wanted to use the my black IPA uses the English ale yeast, the White Labs 002. The first brew that I made with it, I was just blown away by how it attenuated and just how great the beer turned out. But yeah,
we've got a routine. It's sort of we just roll along with it. I'll start a yeast starter, 2 or 3 days prior to the brew. I'll start it or 5 days in the kitchen. I'll just make a small batch and just get it started and just roll it and build it day after day after day. I'm feeding that thing and get it up to 2,000 milliliters. We'll just have a beautiful yeast ready to roll when it's time to brew, and it's been working out really well.
So which yeast did you use in the stout?
The 007.
Yep.
And that was really good.
And the name of that beer is called Savior Stout. And the reason it's called Savior Stout goes back to the triple chocolate Puka's recipe.
It stopped. It stalled out, and we were trying to figure out how do we get this thing to keep working. The cocoa must have choked it off or something.
It stalled at 10:30.
So here we are with this stout in the fermenter, and it's just not moving. And we think, what can we do? So we decided, let's make a real simple stout. And we came up with this recipe. We brewed the stout, and then we racked it over onto the yeast cake after
I'll add to that.
We'd done that. Yeah.
But it was a simple stout, but it had to be a high enough alcohol to tolerate us dumping a 6 or 7% beer on top of it.
Onto it.
Because that's the thing with yeast is if you, let's say we made a 4% ABV stout and dumped a 7%, partially fermented beer on top of it, it would just
go.
I'm so drunk, I can't ferment. So yeah, it's how it would be, and
that's how it came about. This stout that I put into the challenge was the savior for the chocolate stout.
But it's not the same one.
But it's not.
It's batch 2.
So both batch 2. We reproduced.
Oh hell yeah!
And I made it on my own. The second batch. It's awesome. I love it.
It's a dead ringer. Both of our beers actually. Batch number 2. Came out. Both of them came out spot on. If anything, my beer came out. Like 2 SRM lighter or something because instead of using a heavy black, I used a medium black malt. So it's.
Yeah. Right. What do you guys want to brew in the near future? What's like the next? What's the lineup?
I have it. I've been dying to brew, man. So the pipeline is. I think the first up is going to be the coconut IPA. From direct from the recipe. I have all the hops. I have the Belma, the Helga, the Citra, Centennial. I can almost remember all of them.
We got a big bag of coconut in the freezer. You know,
what's the other one?
Be roasted. And
We have the coconut.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, what's the other one? It's a hop Calypso. Have all the hops. Have all the grains. Have the yeast. So it's just a matter of doing the brew.
yeah.
Time.
And I've never brewed a batch of beer with 14 ounces of hops in it, so I'm really excited. And we're actually going to use the recipe you posted on Brewtoad, which was a direct copy from the original. So,
Yeah.
Ryan
so
Rashawn and
from Ryan's, yeah. So really excited about that.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's going to be like the first one. The second beer that I have is going to be, and this was just decided like yesterday.
The last day or two.
Yesterday, it's going to be a pineapple mango saison, using one of our sponsors' yeasts. It's a hybrid saison yeast, and it's called Saisonstein. It's an awesome yeast. I haven't brewed with it, but from what I talked to the owner, I met the owner, and he told me all about this yeast, and it sounds fantastic. So that's going to be brew number 2.
It's like a combination between a Belgian and a German
And a French.
yeast.
Belgian and a French saison yeast. It's a hybrid. So they're actually, as far as I understand, they're the only people doing hybridization of yeast. White Labs is not doing it, and Y Yeast is
We're
not doing it.
speaking of
right now.
Omega Yeast
Omega
Labs
Yeast Labs, yeah.
out of Chicago.
And they're here in our hometown. I mean, brew number 3 and 4. They don't have recipes or anything set up, but I want to do like a Christmas ale or a winter warmer, something we can put down and then have ready for this Christmas. And then I also
great
want to,
idea.
and then I want to do a barley wine that'll be ready for Christmas 2015. And do a party guile, so we can pull a mild out of it, and then we've been talking about wanting to do a party guile for a long time, but I want to do a big old barley wine, and then have a mild we can drink right away, and then stick that barley wine away, probably bottle it instead of kegging, because no sense in tying up a keg, even though we have a few.
Yeah. First and foremost, though, we got to get this bigger system up and running.
Yeah.
So
Well, we could still do all those brews without it.
oh yeah.
Yeah. Right now, I kind of want to do those two, and then in between, just throw down a bunch of batches of Dropkick Nate, and because that's such a great drinker, and have that. That's our house. That really has become our house pale ale.
Okay, who was I talking to? One of the interviews, was it with Sammy?
Sammy.
He said that he couldn't come up with a house recipe, and
Yeah.
then you volunteered, well, I got one for you. I'll
Yeah.
send it your way. Is that going to be Dropkick Nate?
Absolutely, he's gonna go. If he brews that, I'm sure that'll be it. I mean, it's such a fantastic beer, man. You've heard me talk about the
There have been
Galaxy,
a couple of beers.
Galaxy Eldorado, but yeah,
There's been a couple
one.
of beers in the past that we've brewed that we've talked about going back to and redoing in a hall grain, from
Scottish
extract
ale.
kits, the
Yeah.
Scottish ale, and
the porter.
know, but this Dropkick Nate, everybody that tries it say, "Hey, can you share that recipe with us?"
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's
it
such
is
a
good.
winner.
Staple.
It is good. Yeah.
So if
It's-
that one can stand the test of time in your own home, why didn't it go into the competition?
Yeah, that's a good question.
It's a good question.
I don't know.
Because I wanted to. I don't know. After I drank, to be honest, I think that the black IPA is better. I'm
Okay.
partial to the black IPA. I mean, this. I'm biased. It's mine, but it's definitely, it's a showstopper. It's an awesome beer, and it's 8.4%.
When you were up at Larry's,
Yeah.
yep. When you were up at Larry's, didn't you try and advocate him to send the black IPA into the competition?
He did.
I did.
He did.
But And it's funny because his recipe is actually pretty close to mine, but I didn't copy his at all. I mean, I had mine already brewed before I even got to Larry's. And so I got there and I looked at his recipe. I'm like, oh man, that's interesting because it was like two minds, you know. Mm-hmm. And I at that time, I don't know, it was hard to. We were already a few beers deep, but I really liked that black IPA. His New Zealand his IPA is extraordinary too. Yeah, that was but I was really pushing him to do the black IPA because I was hoping that he was going to go forward and then I would go forward and then we'd just have this clash of the black IPA.
Challenge of the black IPA.
Yeah.
Do you have any meetup scheduled for the future?
Yes,
So
next
the
time.
Great American Beer Festival?
The Great American Beer Festival, I'm hoping to get to that. I'm hoping to meet up with the Colorado Fly Fishermen out there, maybe BH Brewing if he can make it. I'd love to meet both of those guys. I'm sure I'll be going to Houston eventually, and my plan is to hook up with the Canadian Sasquatch so I can look extremely short next to him. I think he's 6'6". Lermo is 6'7", and I felt like a little person next to him.
I'm gonna be at home watching the kids, I guess.
And the chickens. Yeah, he's gonna be.
So it's been great talking to you guys. I really appreciate you guys taking the time. I mean, you're family guys, family men with great families. You got a great, solid background and a base camp sort of to stay with, and that really shines through on the Homebrew Wednesdays. I really appreciate you taking the time, and really looking forward to seeing more of you guys in the future. Anything else you'd like to close with?
Yeah, we'd like to close with with another homebrew, if you don't mind. At least we'll get into it, and then we'll say our goodbyes. And then this one is a special one, and this is the SJ Pour Challenge version 1.5, the chocolate raspberry stout from the one and only Lermo 22. So felt it was appropriate. 7.5 ABV. Now this is the SJ Pour Challenge 2013 base recipe with chocolate, raspberry, and other additions that I cannot recite. This was the beer that was supposed to be in the challenge last year, and something went awry. I remember that. But I'm going to go ahead and pour this out. Hopefully I can get that on camera.
It's got that staple marker, the red tape.
The red tape.
Yeah, the red tape.
Yep. And unfortunately this is only a 12-ounce bottle, so I'll try to get this as fair as possible.
That's plenty
Now
fun.
he made a peanut butter version of this as well, but this is the raspberry. Oh my God!
Oh gee!
So
That's awesome. Smell this.
Smell this, Tony. Cheers, Tony. Thank you for inviting us on this wonderful series, and it's been a fantastic episode to share with you and be here part of this this thing. It's been a real fun chat, and it's excellent to be part of this community. And cheers to everybody. Cheers, Dad.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
We are blessed to be able to be a part of it all. I can't add to it.
Are you verklempt again?
Yeah, I guess that's it. I think so. Yeah. And that was just from the heart. I mean, that's just speaking truth.
So heartfelt.
You know? So.
Oh, that's good.
This is good. Yeah.
So we'll leave you on that. Cheers, everybody.
Thanks, Larry.
See you next time.